Welcome to the Rider Sports Corner. I'm your Spotlight host, Steph Chartel. This past week, we were able to see the last men's and women's home games of the season. On Friday, the women's basketball team played Siena, and the men's basketball team played St. Peter's. Then on Sunday, the men's basketball team battled it out against Fairfield.
The Lady Broncs welcomed the excitement into the Alumni Gym Friday afternoon. Near 1,000 fans packed the zoo to see the ladies take on the Saints and to honor the team's only senior, number 14, Janelle Henderson. The game, which was televised on ESPNU, was close and created tension in the final minutes. Despite the overtime loss, 84-81, Henderson was able to make her last game in the Bronx Zoo a memorable one by scoring her 1,000th game point, becoming Rider's 17th women's basketball player to do so. Although Rider's ladies have landed 10th in the MAC, they will play March 6th in Albany, taking on Loyola of Maryland. Following the ladies' game Friday afternoon, Bronc fans were entertained with yet another men's victory, this time defeating St. Peter's. Senior forward Jason Thompson managed to televise his career-high 33 points and 12 rebounds. Junior Harris Mansell and sophomore Ryan Thompson were able to show the nation their game as well. The win over the Peacocks of St. Peter's was detrimental to the Broncs' tie for first place in the MAC. The men and Coach Dempsey alike felt the game was played and carried out with great confidence and energy. Dempsey sees that his senior Jason Thompson is sure to lead his team to overall victory. He said, quote, "This is his last few games at home, and he is determined to make sure we have a chance to win a championship," end quote. Final score of Friday evening's game, Rider 88, St. Peter's 76, accomplishing their fourth televised win of the regular season. And then came Sunday, a day that will never be forgotten in the lives of the men's basketball team, especially those of the four seniors honored. An 87-59 victory over Fairfield left the Bronx Zoo roaring with exhilaration over the shared attainment of the MAC regular season title. Prior to the final home game of the season, the Rider community made tribute to Joel Green, Cameron Warner, Kevin Hickman, and Jason Thompson, four men that will forever be stars on Rider's campus. In the beginning, Rider trailed 11-6, but junior Harris Mansell fixed that with his scoring of 6 points. He said, quote, "There was a vibe in the locker room that we were not going to let Fairfield beat us," end quote. And that vibe sure took absolute control, ending the Bronx regular season on a remarkable note and sending the team to Albany with high hopes and confidence. On behalf of the Rider Sports Corner and the entire Rider University Network, we wish the Broncs, as well as the Lady Broncs, the best as they take on their opponents at the MAC Championship.
And now with M&M Talk, here's Sean Pantelier.
Thank you, Stephanie. I'm here with Mark and Mike in the M&M segment of the Rider Sports Corner. First thing I'm going to talk to you guys about is Brett Favre. He retired today. What do you guys think about his legacy? Mark, I'll start with you.
I definitely think he should be considered a legacy in the NFL. The things he's done as a person, as an individual, and as a quarterback, I mean, his stats basically speak for themselves. I mean, he did have a couple rough years towards the end, but with his age, he's played in the NFL for 17 years, and he still led his team to the playoffs, which shows that he's still got it in him. But I definitely think it's time for him to retire so that we can remember Brett Favre the way he's been playing throughout his years. And I'm happy that he's retiring, but I'm also going to miss him.
All right.
I feel the same way. I mean, he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, he's been in the league 17 seasons, which is it's a little unheard of for most quarterbacks. He's a 3-time MVP. He's also won a Super Bowl, holds the most records, I think, for a quarterback for most touchdowns, most yards. And there's really not much else you can say about the guy.
Okay, well, would you guys have wanted him to play for another year? I know a lot of people were calling for that, and he even took a while again to make his decision. Would you have wanted him to play again?
As I said before, I definitely think it's time for him to, hang up the helmet and basically call it the end of his career in the NFL. But the only reason I might say I would want him to see him play another year is because I wouldn't want to see him end his career on an interception in the playoffs, even though he actually did lead his team to the playoffs at the part of his career that he was in. I mean, I definitely think that it's time for him to definitely retire.
Okay, Mike, your turn.
I actually think that he should play another year. I mean, he did struggle for a good 3 years before this past season, and he has a very young team, which is is really going to be great for them down the road. And he did lead them to the AFC Championship, and no one thought that that was going to happen this year. And I thought one more year, how could that really hurt, since he kept contemplating retirement for the past about 5 years.
Another thing to go off of that with the Brett Favre is Randy Moss. There was a lot of talk about how he wanted Randy Moss on his team as the receiver that he really wants to go to. Do you think it was because Randy Moss signed with the Patriots that maybe Brett Favre decided, okay, it's time to call it quits?
No, I don't think that's it at all. He had a great group of wide receivers around him, a lot of young guys, and he still had Donald Driver, a vet on the team. And I definitely think that, he has plenty of talent as it is now. I don't think he needs Randy Moss, if he played another year, as Mike said, to make it to the Super Bowl or even make it back to the playoffs, because the receivers he has now, they have a chemistry with Brett Favre already that Randy Moss might not have. But I definitely think that it's not because of Randy Moss. I think he feels that it's time to end his career.
Okay.
I think it's actually a little bit part of Randy Moss, because I know last year when Moss became a free agent, Favre was pushing really hard to get him into Green Bay. And this year when he was a free agent again, he wanted him back. And as soon as the Pats re-signed him, the day after, he called for his retirement. But I honestly think that come August, he's going to want to play again, because he knows he's got a good group of guys. And I think he might actually try and come back for another year.
Okay, 2 more questions on Brett Favre. What will you remember Brett Favre for the most? Is there one specific play, one moment, anything like that?
The one thing I'll probably remember about Brett Favre isn't one particular moment, but his passion for the game, his love for the position, and his love for his team. I mean, I've seen plenty of great quarterbacks like Joe Montana, Joe Namath, and they had great passion for the game. But when Brett Favre gets out there, he just strikes this excitement with the fans. And even though I'm not a Green Bay fan, I definitely watch him any day, because he just shows the youth today what playing the position of quarterback really is all about, and how much fun football really can be no matter what your age. So I definitely think I'll remember the passion and remember how he played his position.
Okay.
I love the passion that he had, but what I really liked to watch was him in the fourth quarter of his games, especially when his team was down. He led his team back from so many near losses, and I thought it was just fantastic the way he'd do it.
Right. Okay, and August of 2008, Brett Favre does what?
I say he comes back.
You say he comes back?
Yep.
As I said before, I think he tries to come back.
Everybody thinks he comes back. Okay, then. Moving on, staying in the NFL, what do you guys think about the biggest signings since free agent has started as far as sleepers, somebody that maybe we didn't see going to a specific team?
I'm definitely going to have to start with Faneca from the Steelers. I do know that they were having some contract issues. He wanted more money, and the Steelers refused to really move the money up. And as we can see, I think they wanted to give that to Ben Roethlisberger, who is now one of the highest paid players in the NFL. But I definitely think that's going to be a big help to the Jets. It's going to help that offensive line, which is what they really need. They need better protection for their quarterback, better run blocking. But on that note, again, another big pickup I thought was Isaac Bruce for the 49ers. I thought that was a real step up for them. That helps their wide receiving core, who's still, a little shaky, especially with chemistry with the quarterback. But I definitely think those 2 picks alone really show me how teams are trying to make a difference, and I definitely think this is going to benefit the Jets and the Niners a lot this year.
One of my bigger sleepers, I thought, was Jerry Porter going to the Jags. They've been looking for a real legit number 1 receiver, and they have such a great defense, great run game, and quarterback, David Garrard, he still needs a little bit of time, but I really think Jerry Porter is really going to help him out. And I think they're going to be a real threat in their division and not only the conference. And actually another sleeper was Algie Crumpler going to the Titans. He's going to be a great target for Vince Young. And I think that they're going to be another team to watch out for in the AFC.
Okay. And the draft is just around the corner, coming up in April. I know that we're in Eagles country right now, and there's also the Giants to worry about as well. Do you guys see any potential players going anywhere? Matt Ryan, Brian Brom, even Darren McFadden, do you guys see him go into one of these local teams? And do you think that these teams should do anything with some of these guys? Is there a need that they have to address?
I don't necessarily think the Eagles will go for McFadden, because I think they're happy with Westbrook and Buckhalter, that switch they kind of run. But at quarterback, I guess if they're not feeling that McNabb's going to be up to par, which I think he's going to come back, and I think he's going to have a pretty good year, because every quarterback has their years where they struggle. But if they think that maybe he's not going to be up to par, they may go after Matt Ryan, which I think would be a great move if he's McNabb's struggling still. Because Matt Ryan is a great quarterback. Watching him play for Boston College, he's very smart with the ball, and their offenses, they have like similar strengths. Wide receivers, Eagles have great wide receivers, so I definitely think that Matt Ryan could fit in that system if they tried. I don't know if they'll go for him though. I would like to see them too.
Okay. And how do you feel about that, Mike?
I definitely don't think they need a running back, and I don't think they need a quarterback, because I think McNabb's going to be there for a couple more years, and they do have Kevin Cobb, which they got him last year. I know a lot of analysts are saying that they're going to take a cornerback or a defensive end, but I don't think that really matters now after the signings that they made. What I really think that they need to go for is an offensive lineman, because their offensive line, they're getting a little bit old, so I think that's going to be a focus in the draft.
Definitely. As far as Giants, Jets, do you guys have any opinions on what they should do, especially with the Jets having such a high pick this year? I believe they're 6th in the NFL draft this year.
I personally like to see the Jets go for a quarterback. I think right now they don't have that position fit yet. I don't think Pennington has the arm strength after the shoulder injury and the surgery. He doesn't have the arm strength that they need right now, because they have plenty of wide receivers that can go deep, and now they're adding on to that protection with Faneca. So I definitely think they need that quarterback position, solidified, and they need to find a specific talent that they can put in there. And I think Matt Ryan or Braun would be a great pick for that. So I definitely would like to. I think the Jets would go for a quarterback. However, you never know. They may want to go after McFadden, but I think their running back position is pretty much set right now.
Okay.
I actually see the Jets going after defense. I think they need a little help in their secondary, and I actually think they're going to take a linebacker since they decided to get rid of Jonathan Vilma. As for quarterback, I don't think that they're going to go for quarterback. For some reason, I still think they're going to stick with Pennington, and if not, I think Kellen Clemens, I think he's all right quarterback.
Okay. Any opinions on the Giants then?
Well, the Giants actually made some surprising drops for me personally from what I saw. I mean, they dropped some players that played a pretty big role in helping them get to the playoffs and the Super Bowl. I think the Giants right now will probably go defense. I don't think they need a quarterback right now. I think they're happy that Eli Manning's starting to get his fit in the system. I think their running back, Jacobs, I think he's doing great. So I don't think they'll go after offense. I think they'll go with defense.
Okay.
I have to say defense too. Honestly, I would say linebacker or defensive back again. I'm thinking maybe safety since they let Jabril Wilson go. I think that's going to be a main focus for them.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, now that it's spring, it's starting to be a little bit warmer outside. Major League Baseball is the big thing going on. And now the talk has been about the Cubs and how their prospective owner is willing to sell the naming rights to Wrigley, which is their stadium, Wrigley Stadium. It's been their stadium name since 1926. What do you think about stadiums selling their names and then being known as this team brought to you by this company? What do you guys think about that?
Well, I think since baseball puts itself out there as America's pastime, I think they really need to stick with history. That's what brings people to the game. They hear about things that happened in the past and they want to see what the future can bring. I do not think that Wrigley's name should be sold. I definitely think it should stay the same. That's a very historical ballpark, especially with what Sammy Sosa did in it. And I think that, they should just keep things the way they are. I don't think anything should really change, especially in the Major League Baseball, because that's one of their big things is they always talk about the history of the game. I think they should leave it the same, especially with Wrigley being having that name since 1926. I think they should leave that.
Okay, Mike?
Yeah, I think they should leave it too. I mean, it's if owners keep selling their names like they do in football, it's gonna end up turning like NASCAR, where every team's gonna be sponsored by so many different companies, and I think it's ridiculous. Teams like the Cubs, they should keep Wrigley Field. Green Bay Packers should keep Lambeau Field. I think it's ridiculous for owners to sell their stadium names.
Definitely, I'm one to agree on that. Now, we're also, like I said earlier, we're in Eagles territory. That means we're also in Philadelphia Phillies territory, Mets territory, and as well as Yankees. What are the biggest stories with each of those teams, starting with the Philadelphia Phillies?
Well, as story-wise goes, I think that people might have expected them to take a bigger jump than they did in spring training. To my knowledge, I think they only have a 4-3 record right now. But I definitely think that they're going to keep going off of Rollins, and they're going to. I think they're going to have a good year this year. They're going to live off the hype of last season, and I definitely think that they're going to have a good year. I'm looking forward to seeing what the Mets do this year. They made a couple good moves. Their roster is pretty much everything a team would want, and I definitely think that they're going to come to play this year. And as far as the Yankees, I'm just going to say that even though all these steroid rumors are going around and all this controversy, I'm still surprised and interested to see what they do. They're actually playing pretty good right now in the spring training, and it's only spring training, but we'll see what happens. But I definitely think that I'll be interested to see what those three teams do this year.
Okay, and your three on those, real quick.
I think they all have, a really good core group of guys, and I expect them all to do really well this year. Hopefully Phillies can get over the hump and, go somewhere in the playoffs. I think the Mets will do all right, but I honestly think they'll be out like the first round of the playoffs. And I think Yankees have a really good shot of actually winning it this year.
Okay, great. Rider Sports, big weekend this past weekend, big weekend this coming up, especially for the basketball team. Your reactions to this past weekend's games, both Friday and Sunday?
I loved both of them. I went to both of them, and Rider just has yet to surprise me. They're playing great ball still, which makes me look even more forward to the MAC tournament this upcoming weekend. All around, they're just playing great basketball. The only thing that I'm a little worried about, especially for the tournament, is their ability to hold a lead. As we saw on Sunday against Fairfield, they jump out, they had at least 25-point lead, and then it starts to dwindle down. They were able to stop it at like 12 or 15 points, but that's what I'm worried about the most, seeing them go into the tournament. But they play great ball, and they make every game exciting, and all the fans enjoy it. So I was very happy with this weekend.
Okay, Mike, what did you think about it?
I like this weekend too. I mean, it really showed the team's resiliency, because prior to that they had the 3-game losing streak, which really hurt us. But they did rally back, and it was a great team effort. But the only thing I'm worried about going into the tournament, I think we have a great shot at winning the tournament. The only thing I just hope they keep their focus and they don't, I know they're on an emotional high.
Definitely.
I just don't want all that to go to their head.
Right. All right, now I know we're always talking about Jason Thompson. Mm-hmm. Is there anybody that stepped up this past weekend, both games, that wasn't JT, obviously?
I'm going to have to say Harris. I think Harris, as I watched him in the 3-game losing streak they were on, he was having trouble with his 3-point shots, and then when he did drive, it didn't turn out the way he wanted. But it seems like the last 2 games over the weekend, he was really hitting his threes, and I think that's definitely what helped Rider gain those big leads in the first half, which is a great benefit now and when we hit that tournament. So I definitely think Harris stepped up this weekend.
Okay.
I think it was Ryan Thompson stepping up this weekend. I mean, he's really following in his brother's footsteps. He had a little slow start in the game against Fairfield in like the first half, but second half he really picked it up.
Okay. Is there anybody that you guys thought maybe struggled, looked a little lost, maybe was injured and maybe we just didn't know about it? Anything like that from the basketball games this past weekend?
I was actually going to touch on Ryan's struggling in the first half of the Fairfield game. I know as we talked about the emotional high, I think that's what's hitting him right now. And those breakaways when he's got the ball and no one's around him, you got to make sure you get the points and not go for this dunk. And normally he hits his dunks, but surprisingly he missed that one. And then there were a couple choice layups that might not have been the best decision. Maybe he could have passed it out. But you know what? He's still giving his 110% effort, and he's helping the team take strides forward. So he struggled a little bit, but I think he picked it up.
Okay. And for you?
I didn't really notice, anybody struggling too much. I mean, nobody really stood out this weekend to me. I thought it was just a great team effort. Nobody overshadowed anyone else, and nobody really underplayed what I thought they could play.
Okay. Now, as far as this weekend being the MAC tournament, is there anything that you guys want to touch on with that as far as are you confident in Rider? Are you a little afraid of a certain team? What do you guys think?
Well, the one team I guess if I would say I was worried would be against Niagara, because I know that, they're a good team and they're very strong, especially outside the 3-point arc like we are. And they got Fisher, as we've seen, as we talked about earlier. I think they're a very dangerous team. They have players that can do it all just like we do. But as that goes, I definitely think Niagara would be the number 1 team that I'm afraid of, and Siena would be a close second because they definitely have it too.
Okay.
I think Siena is the team we have to watch out for. I mean, we had a real close game with them the last time, in which we ended up losing, and I think they're going to be the team to beat in the other bracket. So I think we're going to end up meeting them in the finals, and that's going to be the team to look out for.
Okay, and then real quick, women's basketball. What did you guys think? We did make it on ESPN in the top 10 plays. What do you guys think about that? Is there, something that you guys just want to add to that real quick?
I loved it. I thought of all games for it to be on ESPN, I thought that was a great one with that buzzer beater shot. I mean, that even though, they've had a rough season, I think that really caps it all off, especially, for Janelle Henderson and hitting her 1,000th point. That's definitely worth televising, and I'm glad that she hit that point of her career on TV on ESPN. It was definitely worth it.
Okay, Mike,
Yeah,
anything you
it
want to
was
add?
what it was. You really can't. It was a great shot. It was amazing. I don't know what else to say. And hopefully it's a look forward of things to come for next year.
Okay, Mike, thank you very much. This has been the M&M segment of the Rider Sports Corner. Thank you very much for watching.